All right. Now, it would be nice to know if I'm actually building something. So I'd like to add a draw event to this guy, which actually shows how much time is left on building a unit. I'm going to have it set up so that I'm going to have a bar that starts at full and goes down to 0. It's pretty easy to do the opposite of that. So I'm going to add in a draw event. And what I'm going to check is to see if alarm 0 is greater than 0. So alarms that aren't alarms basically constantly subtract numbers, and I'm only interested if it's a positive number. So if it's somewhere between 0 and 60 in mine, I want to draw basically a bar above the building itself. Regardless, let me make sure I draw my sprite in. Sprite index, image index, x, y. And then up here is where I'm going to actually draw the bar above it. So let's see, I need to draw this above the building. So that's going to be, its y is at 32, so I'm going to draw it about, well, probably about 32 above it. Draw, set, color. I'm going to use dark gray, why not? Draw a rectangle. So this is going to be, I'm going to have mine be from negative 16 to positive 16. So wherever the building is, it's going to be 16 to the left. I want it about 5 pixels tall, so I'm going to do 37 above my y position. And then y minus 32. Do I want an outline? No, I want the full box. All right, so this trickiness here, what is this value? This is going to be the right side of my box, so it's got to be somehow based on my alarm. So what it's going to be is, it's whatever percentage of time is left. So it'll be alarm 0 divided by 60, which is how long it's going to be. So if it's 60 out of 60, that'll be 1, and the bar will be all the way across. So I'm going to multiply this by 32. If it's at 30, so it's halfway done, 30 divided by 60 will be 0.5, times 32 will be 16, so it'll be 16 across. So I'm going to start at the same spot, x minus 16, and I'm going to add on whatever this formula gives me. And that'll make it so that it's to the right of it. So that works fine in the theory land of my head. Let's see if it works in GameMaker too. Boy, that's awesome. Theory land is really cool. All sorts of neat stuff happens. All right. Now let's say that I actually want to build up multiple units. It'd be nice if I could do that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have a counter in the building that keeps track of how many units you've basically queued up. So when this guy's first created, he's going to have a variable that's, I'm going to call unit count. It's going to start at 0. Away we go. When you right-click on a unit, if score is greater than or equal to 5, I should actually subtract 5, by the way. Otherwise, you're going to have infinite units. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set unit count plus equals 1. The other thing I need to do is, if I constantly right-click, it'll constantly reset my alarm, which is not something I want to do. So this alarm here, I need to double check and make sure it's not already running. And the way I'm going to do that is check to see if it's greater than 0. Or I'm sorry, less than 0. If it's a negative number, that means I need to reset my alarm. Regardless, though, I should be able to subtract my score and set my unit count to be 1 more. Unit count is going to take effect on the alarm. Well, first of all, regardless of what happens, unit count should subtract 1. If unit count is still greater than 0, I need to reset the alarm. It would be nice if I could actually see what my unit count was as well. So I think I'm going to do that in my draw event. I'm going to set my color back to black. And I want to draw the variable just a little bit above the bar. Now, drawing text is a little funny because the upper left of text, I believe, is where its origin is. So I may have to do some experimentation with that. So x minus 16. Let's try y minus 45. And the string I want to draw is whatever's in unit count. Now, unit count is a variable. So if I was going to draw text, and I did it this way, that would draw unit count rather than the value in unit count. If I try to use just unit count, that's not going to be valid either because that's not a string. What I end up having to do is I actually have to use a special function called string to change this variable into text. So it goes and gets whatever value this is, change it into a string. A little higher, maybe. Boy, that's cool. And boy, I have too many units. Two, go away. 1. A little higher, minus 50. And you could set fonts and whatnot for that as well. All right. So that's how you can queue up multiple units, keeping track of variables in that sort of way. These are all just worker units. So another thing you might want to think about is how you're going to do units that can actually attack. It's actually very similar to the way the worker units work. So if I go into the unit now, the main thing is that if I'm in state 1, if my distance to a particular resource is less than 20, then I go into state 2, which is gathering resources. All you would need to do for an attacking unit is state 2 would then be, I'm going to start shooting projectiles at this other unit or subtracting from their health or whatever it is you're going to do. To be honest, you could even have it just start subtracting from their health, create projectiles, but the projectiles don't do anything other than show you what's going on. The actual health subtraction could happen in a step event. Same sort of thing where you actually have some sort of target. The same thing can happen with buildings. You could assign health to buildings and use the same sort of subtraction. The only thing would be is that you would probably want to have buildings have a parent, which is a child of parent unit, and then you can click on any of those things and attack any of those things. So use the family tree to keep track of which things are allowed to attack. I think that's mostly what you need. The only other things are possibly how do you deal with AI. If you're going to deal with AI, I would just recommend for now just set up a timeline which creates units, and maybe at the very end of the timeline it has some sort of automatic spawner which automatically creates units. A winning condition is probably if you have some sort of enemy base on the other side of the screen, then end the game. One more thing, a lot of people are trying to do scrolling things, so let me show you how to do that real quick. So you probably remember scrolling from the scrolling shooter, right? So how do I actually deal with that here? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create another object, which I'm just going to call the scroll object. has no sprite, and all it does every step is it jumps to the mouse. Y equals mouse underscore Y. Okay, and once I place this guy in the room, I can put in views. So I enable the use of views, make it visible when the room starts, so it only shows this much of my screen, and it's going to follow the scroll object. Now this is a little fast. Whee! So if you want it that fast, that's fine. If you don't, you can actually set the horizontal and vertical speeds here and here. So for example, if I only wanted to move at a speed of 5, then it moves a lot slower. So it's up to you how you want to set that up. If you want something to remain in the view, by the way, so for example, if I want this button to remain in the view, I'm going to have to make sure it's based on the x and y of the view. So I'm going to make this button always draw at a particular spot. So I'm actually going to have it be in a draw event. So I'm going to set it up to be the view is going to be x view plus 20, y equals view underscore y view plus 20. And I'm going to spell view correctly. There we go. So view underscore x view is whatever the left side of the view is at. So if you scroll to the right, it may be something like halfway into the room. Y view is the top of the screen, wherever it's scrolled to. Now, because I'm in a draw event, I have to actually draw my own sprite again. Because by default, it doesn't draw your sprite in a draw event. All right, so it's up here. And then when I scroll, it scrolls like that. Now, it's probably not the right spot, but it's pretty easy to alter that just by using the numbers. All right, that's what I got to show you.